I defrauded my own family members to appeal to my own inner desires. I was being catfished over.
Welcome back to another episode of Scamfish presented by socialcatfish.com. On today's episode, we speak to a 53-year-old man named John who defrauded his family to send thousands of dollars to a woman named Ava who he fell in love with online.
My name is John. I'm 53 years of age, and it appears within a very short period of time I got caught up into a catfishing scheme, and I have been taken for a considerable sum of monies.
Like many victims in the past, John has recently been through a lot. This would leave him vulnerable to a scammer.
I was in a common law relationship for approximately 22 years, and it come to an end in middle of January. I wasn't doing this well when I was with my previous partner. I was totally faithful. I come home from work one day, and within 5 minutes of me coming home, police showed up on the doorstep, and then she was being escorted out, and she walked away from us, walked away from a 22-year relationship.
Dementia can be devastating for couples who are in long-term relationships. John and his wife Patty were together for 22 years. One moment they would be fine in the relationship, the next they would be arguing. A couple of weeks after the divorce, John's wife Patty was diagnosed with stage 3 dementia.
It was very hurtful. I mean, if she felt we weren't working, we weren't working. I thought that, like, that's a pretty drastic measure. Have police escort. Like, is it that hard to turn around and say, hi, sit down and hey, honey, I've been thinking for the last 2, 3, 5, 20 years, it just ain't working. It's time to move on. You try to be there for your partner, but if your partner just doesn't, what they feel, it's done. And so, what can you do? Like, so you just let them go and hope for the best.
John's divorce was tearing him apart, so he decided to look for love and affection online.
Our relationship, like I said, finished in January of 2022. I started on one particular online dating app. It was there that I met the individual that catfished me. I initially reached out to her. We shared a couple different messages back and forth, and the first one that started to raise an eyebrow to me almost immediately was, I want you to go off site. So I asked, what do you mean go off site? Well, I'm not going to share my partner with somebody else, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Sure, no problem. So, I canceled my membership immediately, took a screenshot, sent that back and said, here's proof that I've done such. I found her very attractive. She looked to be in and around my age group. I believe her profile said she was about 52 years of age, and she too was either self-employed or entrepreneur. It made the possibility of a relationship more realistic, that it could potentially happen. When you're alone and you're lonely and all the rest of the stuff, you do kind of fall for all the typical nuances of wanting to have somebody want you, say all these nice things. They melt your inner feelings and make you feel warm and wanted again. Of course, when you're in your courting process of dating and whatnot, you do a lot of everything from the emojis, kissy faces, and hearts, and all I love yous, I love you too, blah, back and forth. In our case, we also shared a lot of poems back and forth. Part of me didn't want to believe that I'm in the onset of a scheme that's about to unfold.
Though John had suspicions about Ava, she had to answer all of his questions and had one of the most elaborate schemes we've ever heard of.
4 to 7 days, I believe it was, somewhere in that vicinity. She claimed she had to travel to another part of the globe. She works with precious stones, diamonds, opals, sapphires, all that kind of thing. So she does quite frequently travels the globe purchasing various precious stones for her client base. Her comment was she had to travel to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia and go make an acquisition of some precious stones. And she said, remember I told you I might have to go to Malaysia? Well, that trip's been bumped up. So she goes there, and when she lands, she puts in that. I get onto WhatsApp. I see a Malaysian SIM card phone number, and we carried on our communication through that means, as well as email. Her balance in her bank account that she showed me, her alleged bank account she showed me, was £345,782.
In the spirit of love, John decided he would help Ava with her situation. John dished out thousands of dollars to help Ava and her gemstones project. She had a website that she sent to John and claimed that she had been in business with her dad pretty much her whole life. John would go on to send money for a $1,000 COVID test for Ava and a $1,500 plane ticket for her to travel to get the stones. But it didn't stop there.
So I sent that right away within a couple of days. As the next comment was, the standard operating procedures in Malaysia is so different than in Canada or the US. I have to pay for a whole month and I can't pay for just a week. And threw another figure at me. And I kind of expressed in my text messages and on WhatsApp that I was frustrated with such. And why are you so mad at me? Blah, 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 was how she started going. I said, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the scenario because really, wouldn't you know this? Or before you go and spend like wild crazy on this volume of stones?
John had exhausted his bank account. He'd given Ava everything. Ava promised the money was coming soon, but his car was in danger of being repossessed. So John reached out to his family to help him out. Ava needed another $8,000, and this was the only way John could get it.
Basically, I come in my own mind, I played out a scenario that was a real live scenario that I was going through. I was falling short of fuel to get to a job site or materials to go to work on a project or complete a project. I was getting paid for a project, say Friday, but I needed this money Wednesday to accommodate insurance, business insurance, vehicle insurance, or whatever company debt that I had.
He told his family that he needed to borrow money because he was behind on bills, but never told them he was sending all of the money to Ava.
I can pay you back. I have the ability to pay you back. If you could lend me this money, I need $3,000. You need money from me. You're the one who made this. You've been doing this for, her LinkedIn profile says 12 plus years. She grew up with apparently her father and learned the gem trading business with her father. You don't know about the KPCS. You don't know about the storage fees. You don't know about special freight, blah, blah, blah. And this is your type of business that you've spent an entire lifetime learning about? All sorts of red flags are starting to go up fast, very fast.
At this point, Ava treated John like he was a business partner. She sent him contracts that stated the gemstones were worth over $2 million. While Ava was in Malaysia, she needed a place to store the gemstones. She asked John for $8,000 for a 30-day storage unit.
My family is not aware of it. I even borrowed some money off of my family during the course of this, and because I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm a little bit of a bleeding heart there, instead of doing what I should have done with the monies, I reallocated it to assist her. So now I'm faced with facing my family and trying to recover that and give them what they helped me out with, repay them what they helped me out with. I almost lost my vehicle in this process as well. So, I mean, the bailiff was ready to repossess it within the last couple of days. I was able to, knock on wood, pull off a Hail Mary yesterday and prevented that from happening. Now that I'm in the position to repay them and whatnot, I'd like to keep them out of it so they just don't know. It's because it's not from a humiliation perspective. It's more of a trust factor, I guess. I'm not close to them. I haven't been for about 20 years.
John ended up borrowing thousands of dollars from his sister and mother. This ruined his reputation within his family.
So in essence, I fabricated a lie to, in essence, con money out of my family members.
We looked into all of John's information he was able to gather for us about this mysterious woman, Ava. John was completely convinced that Ava was real. He told us that he had video chatted her, he had her bank account information, and photocopies of her driver's license. But our social catfish team was not convinced that Ava was who she claimed to be. We started to dig in. We searched all over the internet and used the tools on our site to track down who this woman in the photos really was.
The last time we spoke, you mentioned you had spoken to your family about this. Has that changed at all?
No, I have not went into any further detail with them at this point. I'm currently in a position that I've been able to repay them and whatnot, and keep that under wraps, I guess. And just won't let something like this happen again.
You also mentioned you FaceTimed Ava, and you believe she's on a larger conspiracy of gemologist scammers.
We tried to make a connection. It was very brief. It was lasted all of about 3 4 seconds type thing. It appeared like it was a dark room that she in. The lighting was very poor. However, it was still clear enough camera wise that you could still make out the facial imagery.
And John, when you first contacted us, you mentioned that you believe Ava was in on the scam, correct?
Yes, because when I found other information that was somewhere else in the world, but she doesn't advertise about herself or talk about going anywhere near South America. And then all of a sudden, I find a South American website that is identical. It's like, okay, are you part of an international thing? You look after this part of the world, the globe, and somebody else looks after another part of the globe based on your own linguistics. Like, I mean, she does speak with a British accent, not that whether she is or she isn't, but according to the copy of a driver's license she showed me, she is she's born in Canada but was raised in the UK. So it's very likely that she picked up the accent being raised there. Because at one point in time, she was indicating that even the rapid COVID testing in Malaysia was a cost of approximately $1,000 US. I had a hard time believing it was that high priced.
As we were speaking to John, he told us about even more research he looked into.
When I started doing a Google Lens to a lot of the photography within the website of the freight company that she purported that she was mandated to use, these images come up being used in multiple freight companies throughout the world. And out of curiosity, I went to one of them. One of them was located in South America. I believe it was Argentina, no less. A different freight company name, but identical layout, identical coloration. I mean, no two freight companies anywhere in the world will use the same branding, the way they brand themselves, their colors, the way they present their website information, all the rest of the stuff. So I started going through the motions of translating it all. And when I translated it all, yes, it was identical, only just in Hispanic linguistics. So I'm going, this is awfully suspect. So I started doing more research, and I found and go from one page at a time that it would allow me into, and I found various lorem ipsum text. So I enlarged and blew that up as high as I could, and I found the street and that. So then I went to Google Street View. That pinpoint map is actually the Royal Bank of Scotland. There's no jeweler or gem dealer or business anywhere on the street view of London in that area.
After listening to all of John's research, it was now time to let him know what we found.
John, we think it's great that you did your own research, but we do have our own information about this conspiracy that will help you hopefully come to terms with what happened.
Part of this was the fact that she sent you a receipt. And when we looked into that information, and John, it appears that this receipt was a fake template that they downloaded online. And it is very common for scammers to download legal and financial templates from an online platform to fake legitimacy.
We found the receipt that Ava sent to John to be fake. We located the original receipt template after running a reverse image search. It's free for anyone to use or download. The template also has the option to add a logo. It most likely took the scammer 15 minutes tops to create this fake receipt. There's a lot of receipt generator websites on the internet, making it easier on scammers. Websites like expensesreceipt.com allow you to create a fake receipt for almost any business in the world. This is just another tactic scammers use to get you to believe their lies.
Did that receipt make you feel secure in your investment?
It kind of did at first.
The receipt obviously led you to have suspicions about the Weber Gem Company, and unfortunately those suspicions were correct. We found no trace of a company under the name Weber Gems in the UK or internationally. John, when you asked your family for money, did they ever ask to make sure you weren't involved in a scam?
No. I'm not known within the family dynamic or even in my small business circle of being one to fabricate things. I usually am very taken very much so as a man of my word. I say what I mean what I say, and you can set your watch by me. It ruined my reputation in the family scenario. I'm a solid person. I'm as good as my word.
Well, the reason why I asked John is because it appears Canada gets a lot of scams from Malaysia.
Romance scam centers are prominent in Malaysia, and it appears that the scammer in your situation was fabricating a reason to be in Malaysia, and this was to cover their tracks in case some suspicions arose. If you saw a final destination of Malaysia, whether that be through your money transfers or even an IP address.
Yeah, and as soon as she apparently landed, I had a short video clip that had a scrolling marquee outside, which made it sound more realistic. It said Kuala Lumpur International Airport.
Well, John, you suspect that you spoke to the real Ava Weber, correct?
Yep. It was just we tried 2 or 3 or 4 times, but the connection just seemed to continue to cut out. Claimed it on poor internet service at that end.
Even though it may have felt like you were talking to Ava, we have some information of why you weren't.
I know that the fact that she said she was flying to Malaysia may seem like Ava was actually there, but in fact, we found that the real woman in the photos is actually Stacy. She is a Pennsylvania entrepreneur. She's a founder and CEO of a talent acquisitions company. She's happily married, and there is no sign of a history with gemology. Stacy is very prominent on LinkedIn, and we believe that's where the scammer sourced her images. So the woman in the photos is not involved in this case in any capacity.
Oh, wow. Okay, so even the purported driver's license and passport, the imagery that she showed me was also fabricated.
Yes, it was all photoshopped.
Receiving passports, birth certificates, and driver's license from someone you met online is a huge red flag. Scammers Photoshop them to bring legitimacy to their story. This driver's license is obviously fake. Can you point out what's wrong with it? Let us know in the comments section below.
I should also state, John, that there is no conspiracy of international gemologist scammers stealing your investment. This is strictly a romance scam case.
Does this change your mind about, this whole conspiracy?
As far as the conspiracy aspect, yeah, somewhat. That was only because I stumbled on other information that is so identical in representation that it goes, it makes you raise the eyebrow and go, is there more people to this?
Yes, John, you're 100% correct. These scams are very sophisticated, and they involve multiple scammers a lot of the time. Scammers will set up small call centers, build out fake profiles of people, and send hundreds of friend requests in hopes to find someone to dupe.
And the reason you saw a lot of the data, a lot of the information, including photos, names, company IDs, replicated across the web is because scammers set up different sites around the globe using different VPNs and other IP software that make it seem like their companies are international. And so, unfortunately, like I mentioned, this was strictly and only a romance scam case.
Just to be clear, the woman in the photos is not part of this scam at all, but online criminals are stealing her likeliness to hurt others. She too is a victim of the crime. Romance scams have 2 victims, the person being scammed and the victim whose photos are replicated.
What we hoped for at the end of this interview is for you to understand what happened to you, know that you're not alone, and hopefully get you on a better path with your family.
It does. I think I'm just going to bide my time, though. I need some dust to settle, I think, first. Yes, thank you for this. That's given me some insight. It's still something to battle with internally, and how I allowed myself to be led down the garden path.
Thanks for watching another episode of Scamfish, everyone. Remember, new videos go out every Wednesday. If you or anyone else you know might be going through a scam, please send an email to sharemystory@socialcatfish.com. See you guys next week.